Nordic countries pledged $486 million in U.S. weapons to Ukraine, including Patriot missiles. And 1 year after Ukraine's historic Kursk operation, massive Russian losses and a bold new chapter in warfare. Let's unpack the details and put you in focus. Don't forget to follow us for the latest updates and exclusive reports. Sweden, Norway and Denmark will provide $486 million to purchase U.S.-made weapons to Ukraine. The aid package will be delivered under the Procurement of U.S. Replacements for Ukraine initiative. According to Swedish authorities, Sweden's share of the package, which includes missiles for Patriot air defense systems, air defense equipment and anti-tank munitions, will amount to $275 million. More details to follow from our reporters.
The United States and NATO are launching a new mechanism to support Ukraine, the Prioritized Ukraine Requirements List. According to Ukraine's defense minister, this will accelerate the delivery of weapons needed by Kyiv, with the process coordinated from NATO headquarters in Brussels.
This initiative is being implemented within the framework of agreements between Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, U.S. President Donald Trump, and NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte. Thanks to the new mechanism, NATO member states and partners will be able to finance the supply of American weapons and technologies through voluntary contributions. The PURL mechanism involves forming a list of equipment and ammunition based on Ukraine's requests, confirmed by the Supreme Allied Commander Europe, Denis Shmyhal, Minister of Defense of Ukraine, on Facebook.
Aid packages will be formed on a regular basis, assured Denis Shmyhal. Meanwhile, Washington reminded that the initiative to purchase American weapons with European investments is part of the agreements between Donald Trump and Mark Rutte, following their July 14th negotiations.
This delivers on President Trump's initiative to get U.S. equipment paid for by our Canadian and European NATO allies into the hands of the Ukrainian warfighter. This allows Ukraine to protect critical infrastructure and civilian lives while also staying in the fight until a lasting ceasefire happens.
This is about getting Ukraine the equipment it urgently needs now to defend itself against Russian aggression. The aim of all Allied assistance to Ukraine is to bring the war to a just and lasting end in support of President Trump's peace efforts. Mark Rutte, NATO Secretary General, from a statement on NATO website.
The Netherlands was the first to support the initiative to purchase weapons for Ukraine, allocating $500 million for missiles and components for Patriot air defense systems. The contents of the package are not disclosed. Following the Netherlands, Sweden, Norway, and Denmark announced a joint decision to allocate $486 million to purchase American weapons for Ukraine.
This is a very strong initiative that significantly enhances our potential to protect lives. Yesterday, 500 million euros from the Netherlands. Now another decision for $500 million. This will be felt, and it will set a good example for other NATO countries to strengthen ties between America and Europe in the context of security and ensure protection from Russian strikes. We also appreciate the significant contribution of our Nordic partners, not only in supplying weapons, but also in developing our joint defense industries and the strength of Ukrainian defense production. Volodymyr Zelensky, President of Ukraine, on Telegram.
Partners plan to provide one military aid package every 2 to 3 weeks to ensure continuous support. Importantly, PURL does not replace existing aid programs for Ukraine, but complements them and offsets the support volumes approved by former U.S. President Joe Biden.
This is a new scheme, and it has not yet been tested. NATO has never operated under such a scheme. Currently, the payment mechanism is being worked out, and it is still under consideration how it will proceed, whether alliance members will purchase weapons and pay directly into the U.S. Treasury account, or, as proposed in a bill submitted to Congress a few days ago, a specific fund will be created at the Treasury through which these payments will be processed.
Mark Rutte urged all NATO allies to support the Prioritized Ukraine Requirements List initiative. The Secretary General noted that further important statements from other alliance members are expected soon. Reported by Larissa Patriot, UATV News.
Over 80,000 killed and wounded, nearly 1,000 captured, and around 3,000 pieces of equipment and weaponry destroyed. These are Russia's losses as a result of the Ukrainian Defense Forces operation in the Kursk region. This marks the first time in military history that a country without a nuclear arsenal has taken control of part of a nuclear-armed state's territory. 1 year after the start of the Ukrainian Defense Forces Kursk operation, we report for you on its results.
The commander of a unit from the 22nd Separate Mechanized Brigade of Ukraine's ground forces, with the call sign Storm, recalls how he reacted when he received the command to begin operations in Russia's Kursk region. He says the Ukrainian armed forces achieved what had once seemed like an impossible dream.
I won't make anything up. I'll say it honestly. I was shocked at first. I couldn't believe we were really going to cross the border. I thought it was just talk. But when the first group actually moved in on the 6th of month, I realized this was no joke. This was real, and I had to treat it seriously and be ready for combat.
According to several Western media outlets, Russia's military command learned of Ukraine's Kursk operation months in advance. But that didn't stop chaos from erupting in the ranks of the invading army.
They were scared. They never expected us to actually cross the border, to enter their territory, to start doing anything, like taking prisoners or storming positions. So they surrendered, both individually and in groups. We saw border guards, special forces, even conscripts laying down their arms.
Just days into Ukraine's operation in Russia's Kursk region, videos began appearing online showing Russian soldiers surrendering.
How many of you are there? Just me. They gave me the radio. All right, come on, move. They had been deployed near Sudzha and attached to the 155th Brigade. But according to them, the 155th Brigade left them behind. No communication, no food, no water. By the 5th day, they decided to surrender.
Ukraine's top military commander, Oleksandr Syrsky, stated that in just the first 20 days of the offensive, nearly 600 Russian soldiers were captured.
To free our people from Russian torture chambers, Ukraine's defense forces are constantly replenishing the exchange fund with captured Russian soldiers and officers. The most successful effort in this regard was the Kursk offensive. Between August 6, 2024, and May 25, 2025, our defenders took 971 Russian servicemen prisoner from a post by Ukraine's General Staff on Facebook.
Among the captured were Russian conscripts, who, according to President Putin, were never supposed to be involved in combat.
In 2022, 2023, and the first half of 2024, Ukraine was always the one to initiate talks about prisoner exchanges. But for the first time, Russia reached out directly, right after Ukraine launched its offensive in the Kursk region. In my view, the Kursk operation gave Ukraine a major advantage in this area. Dmytro Libinets, Ukrainian Parliament Commissioner for Human Rights, in an interview with Ukrainska Pravda.
On August 24, 2024, Ukraine's Independence Day, 115 Ukrainian soldiers returned home from Russian captivity. To stop the Ukrainian advance and launch a counteroffensive, the Russian military sent tens of thousands of troops to the Kursk front and, for the first time, deployed soldiers from North Korea. Pyongyang provided Moscow with 11,000 elite troops.
Russia's use of the elite North Korean contingent indicates not only a deepening dependence on totalitarian regimes, but also real problems with the mobilization reserve. Together with our partners, we are monitoring these threats and will respond accordingly. Rustem Umarov, Secretary of Ukraine's National Security and Defense Council, at a press briefing on June 26, 2025.
The Kursk operation allowed Ukraine's defense forces to cripple Russia's strategic reserves and draw operational units away from other parts of the front. According to President Volodymyr Zelensky, the operation was essential in thwarting Moscow's plans to seize more Ukrainian territory.
This was a preventive measure to stop the Russians from capturing Sumy and advancing from the north, or from seizing Kharkiv and pushing in from the east. That's why our troops launched the Kursk offensive, to disrupt their plans for occupation.
At the peak of the operation, Ukrainian forces controlled around 1,300 square kilometers of Russian territory, more than 100 settlements. Today, Ukraine's defense forces still hold some border areas, and the Kursk operation continues.
The operation has since evolved. Its goals are now very different. What's important, region. Right now, the operation is ongoing near the Russian village of Tyotkino in the Glushkovsky district of Kursk Oblast, and it's still achieving its objectives.
According to Ukraine's military command, the Kursk operation continues to pin down a large number of Russian forces, preventing them from launching offensives elsewhere.
Враг до сих пор не может ничего сделать.
The enemy still can't do anything about our presence there. Meanwhile, our forces are conducting maneuver warfare and tying down Russian reserves. Troops that otherwise could have been deployed, for example, to the Pokrovsk front.
Ukraine's top commander, Alexander Syrsky, says at least 80,000 Russian soldiers have been killed or wounded since the start of the Kursk operation. Ukrainian losses, he says, are significantly lower. Reported by Valeria Nekipolova, UATV News.
How soon can Ukraine expect to receive and deploy this new equipment? And what do you think Ukraine's control of part of Kursk means for the future of the war? We'd love to hear your thoughts on all of this. Drop them in the comments. Stay in focus with UATV and stay safe.